What you're looking at right now is the mandala wheel. And the mandala wheel has all of these beautiful gate activations on the outside that show us the book of changes, the ancient I Ching book of changes, hexagram structure in a nonlinear fashion. It really is divided into the wheel in such a way that each gate activation is very similar in structure compared to the one right next to it. So I want to draw your attention. We're just going to kind of cruise around the mandala wheel today, and I'll explain as we go along what I see. And again, field any questions that you have using the Q&A box. So when we look at this mandala wheel, we have it divided into 4 different quarters, you can see here. So we actually begin the Rave New Year when the sun enters gate 41. That's at the end of the final quarter in this mandala wheel that we'll come back to at the end of going through this. But you can see right here, right now, today, what I just showed you, where the sun is in gate 60. So that's the 4th stage of the Rave New Year. And the actual New Year, according to human design, is when the sun hits gate 41. So remember how just a moment ago we were looking at the transits, and I was sharing with you that the sun happens to be conjunct or right next to Pluto. So sun and Pluto both in the root center. This is a powerful energy for mutation, for transformation. And oops, I popped into the wrong Prezi. This one. Okay. So that is at the end of the quarter of transformation, quarter of mutation, purpose fulfilled through transformation. That's where we are as far as our positional time and space right now. Okay. This is kind of like a way of being able to recognize time and the movements of the solar bodies all around us. So if you could imagine the difference between human design and astrology, if you could imagine the astrological wheel, and you can see the astrological symbols right there in this circle, in the inner circle. What you notice is that in astrology, there is no position for the earth. The center is considered to be the earth. But for us in human design, we have a polarity. So back to what you'll notice about the hexagram structure, the gates, and why they are right next to each other. It's because there is a correlation between the similarities of the frequencies of those gates, to put it very plainly. And then if you look directly across the wheel, you see how the 13 and the 7, oh, somebody turned on closed captioning. That's awesome. Happy to see it. Okay. So if you look from the 13, just kind of, let's actually dive a little deeper for us here. We'll go a little closer. Will my mouse work? Let's see. Yeah, we can. Okay. So you see how I'm taking you to 13. Okay. So we're just going to look at right here. We can see the first 4 gate activations I'm going to focus you on: 13, 49, 30, and 55. Okay, so that would be the beginning, these 4 gate activations, the beginning of the quarter of initiation, purpose fulfilled through mind. So I'm going to use my chart as an example. When you take a look at somebody's personality sun, so everybody who, especially if you're new to design, look down at your body graph, grab your personality sun activation. It'll look like a little glyph with a circle with a dot in the middle. And this is where mine is, gate 30, the clinging fire, gate of feelings and fate, freedom recognized as illusion, and limitation accepted as a fate. So if I go 1, 2, 3, that's where my personality sun happened to be in the 3rd line. So my life's work has to deal with resignation. Now, when you look at that, you go, resignation? That doesn't sound like any fun, Labina. And yeah, in the not self, it isn't. It really isn't. It's about life not being fair. It's the shit happens, stream and line. It's a real challenge to the not self. And I'll tell you, incarnation crosses are not a guarantee in your life. Okay, they're not a guarantee that you're going to fulfill the fullest experience or expression of your life's work. Where the sun is, it shows us the agent of how your life purpose is going to be fulfilled. So for me and my purpose is fulfilled through my mind's process, period. It's not about form. It's not about bonding. It's not about transformation. It is about my mind, period. So when we look at this hexagram, I want you to kind of see if you can remember that hexagram. Now look how similar these other ones are. See how kind of similar they are? Yes, they do change. They're all very different, as in they're not exactly the same, but they're similar in nature. You see, there's kind of a, like they rhyme. Yeah, there's a similarity to them. Now, if you just kind of watch as we go across the wheel. Okay, we're going directly across the wheel. I want you to see that these hexagrams over here, when you match them completely, they are polar opposites of each other. Polar opposites of each other. I know for certain that my Earth is in gate 29. Okay, so my grounding in this life, the abysmal, the gate of perseverance, is the deep within the deep. Persistence, despite difficulties, has its inevitable rewards. And you can see, if we kind of remember what the 30 was on the other side, it had a lot of solid yang lines, we call them. And over here, we see a lot of yin lines. It's the exact opposite. It's the mirror gate, the polarity in the wheel. In the wheel, we have mirror gates in the body graph, but here we're talking mirror gates in the wheel, as in the exact opposite polarities. Okay, so where my grounding of my life's work is in evaluation. So the ability to not just knee-jerk reaction and say yes to everything, but actually to wait, to assess what to commit one's energy to in this discovery, this journey through life. So, oh, good, my chat is working. Catalina is saying, hi, I'm new here. Happy New Year. Nice to meet you. My incarnation cross. Okay. So we are not going into personal incarnation cross purposes today. How do you read it on your chart? Okay. So what you're going to do is, if you want to, this is not a chart, it's just an image. If you want to, you can find your personality sun. Okay. So this, wherever the sun happens to be, you find it in the wheel. And that's where you're going to fulfill your life's work. So I won't go into what does my incarnation cross mean, because I can't read your incarnation cross without the full chart. And it takes about an hour to give it a good fair shake, I'll say. It's okay. No problem. Sometimes when you join late or you're not really listening, we're not looking at charts today. This is an introductory, how to orient yourself to the mandala wheel and know something about everybody's incarnation cross, not just yours. So back to zooming out, what we see is that when we have the sun in a quarter of the wheel, here where it's quarter of initiation, purpose fulfilled through mind, until we get to right here, the two. Everybody whose sun activation on the personality side is going through a real deal when it comes to the initiation of your mind's process into the world. So it's about re-engaging with life, you know, coming back to the establishment of being incarnate. Incarnate, literally in the flesh, coming back into form. So this is where Ra's personality sun was as well. Anybody else here with their personality sun in the quarter of initiation, purpose fulfilled through mind? Because you're here to wake up first. You are here to have your mind be initiated into this life experience. And we're going to do that in two ways. We are either going to be learning about our life and its process of purpose fulfillment, our mind, I should say, our mind's initiation, or we are going to have fulfillment of that initiation of your purpose fulfilled through mind's process. Now, interestingly, if we look at this body graph and we take what activations are actually a life force, okay, and we color those in. So if I were to color in all the gate activations, I have a way of knowing this just from my teachings. I don't have an illustration prepared for you, but from learning, I know that this channel right here, one of Ra's strengths, is also called initiation, channel of initiation, a design of needing to be first. It's a genetic requirement, needing to be first. And so if we look at this again, first, the mind is initiated into life, and that's our life's work relative to what gate activation it is, which again, all of these that are right next to each other, they're divided into groups of 4, have a very similar, not genetic requirement of purpose fulfillment, a similar, not exactly the same, of course, because they're different. And then it's like an ability to watch how things, we have all these ways of subdividing things into fractals. Every single one of these gate activations, we'll go back, start up here. So the 13, if your sun is 13 or 49 or 30, 55, 37, 63, 22, 36, 25, 17, 21, 51, 42, 3, 27, 24. All of those I just listed, if that is where your life's purpose focus is, your mind's experience and expression of purposes, then this is something that you're going to be drawn to because it is what you're broadcasting in life. So your mind's going to be pondering this stuff, and you can either ponder it in one way or another way. In the not self, it's usually black and white thinking, where you get caught up in, this or that, and there's nothing in between, and you have no way of accessing your authority. So you make decisions based on logic and good, bad, right, wrong, or what you've been ingrained to think of as good, bad, right, wrong because of your conditioning. So I'll tell you again, this life's work is not a guarantee. It's not. So Ra doesn't encourage anybody to get all hopped up on your incarnation cross reading first. He wants you to go through your foundation analysis first. So if you haven't gotten a foundation analysis, you really want to make sure that you get that from a licensed, certified, trained IHDS practitioner. Otherwise, you are not getting the depth and detail, nor the synthesis that is required for you to be set on the right track of following your own decision-making strategy, your strategy and authority, being your own authority. If you do not have access to being your own authority, what happens is all of this becomes mind candy, food for thought, and none of it really settles into the cells and changes you. It mutates you, the system does. Once you've been infected, hi, I'm a cross of contagion. I'm here to infect you with my mind's process. Once you've been infected by the human design system, you cannot see life the same ever again, because you cannot unsee the things that you do see now that the veil has been lifted from your eyes in order to see things clearly. And that can only happen once you are following your decision-making strategy, operating in alignment, and then life opens up for you in a mutative way, in a different way, in a way that's unique to you. So again, do not go out and try to get an incarnation cross reading without a foundation analysis and experimenting with living your design. IHDS teachers have the ability to guide you through that. Any analysts or even living your design guides, those are our first step in the certification process. Living your design guides have the ability to guide you home to your true self. Without the dedication, you can hear Labina's grounding talking, without being committed to your personal process in this life, what you're going to find is that you get like a flotsam and jetsam. You get buffeted about on the seas of fate, and life shit happens and you have no idea what's going on. Or maybe you think you do, but you really don't, because you're believing the mind story inside of your head about yourself. Okay. So going back to the big overarching viewpoint, the key to understanding somebody's life purpose fulfillment in general, again, because we don't have time to analyze charts today, it's not the purpose. But what I want you to see is that, again, everybody here, quarter of initiation, purpose fulfilled for mind. When we move to the next quarter, you see the quarter of civilization, purpose fulfilled through form. And this form is about the yin in life. Yeah. It's more, you see the direct polar opposite again in the wheel. It's really easy to see there because they are the most yin activation, and the polarity pair across the wheel, the most yang activation. Yang being solid lines, 6 of them, of course, hexagrams, meaning hex for 6. And then the broken lines are the yin. You see Taurus there. Now, those of you who know astrology, it's about the home of the body. Now, the body and its embrace of being nurtured on this Mother Earth. So what we look at then is you see the relationship. You just soft kind of gaze, soft. Let's go a little bit closer so that you can see it better. I know it might be hard on some small screens. So we're just doing this. Now I can look at, okay, it's 2 through 33. 2 through 33. So when you're looking at this, I want you to start over here on the left-hand side, if it's correct for you to do so, and just kind of soft gaze and watch these hexagram lines change. Notice the shift. Notice the change. Do you see how similar they are in nature? Without even looking at the gate meanings themselves or the line meanings themselves, we're just looking at how things are changing. And those of you who are strategic might not like my pen and my focus, my mind and my visual is strategic, but just watch as that changes. Oops, we're missing the 33. There it is. Okay. So what you're going to notice then is that relative to your design, okay, relative to your design, you are here to either guide civilization, projector. You are here to build civilization, generator. You are here to impact civilization, manifester. Or you're here to reflect civilization. And it's interesting, this particular activation or quarter of the wheel, in the activations in the body graph, we have all of the throat gates. For those of you who know your body graph mechanics very well, those of you who are new, just letting you know, it is about all of those form gates here, the numbers. And then if you just take a look, many of these, and there's a couple that are in the G, but many of these are about your ability to communicate. So when your personality sun is here, wherever it happens to be in the wheel, in this quarter, and in the body graph, your personality sun activation is the core essence of how you're here to broadcast your light. Now, if your light is being broadcast from the throat, that's more about communication, isn't it? If your light is being broadcast through the root, that's more about pressure and stress. It's not that stress is bad. We need healthy stress to survive. If your sun is coming from the G center, then that's going to be about either love, in this case, or direction. So each of us has a genetic predisposition to broadcast our light in a way relative to our type and relative to whether that sun is defined or not. So when you look down at your wheel, again, Remember, if your sun is down here, this is not about mind. This is about form. This is about civilization and form, your purpose fulfilled through form. And when the gate activation is undefined, that means your broadcasting of your light is not for everybody. Mine is for specific people. I'm a projector. Remember, it was a 30 up there. Because I have a channel here, I can use my imagination to share my emotions, my feelings, my experience in this great game of life in the hands of fate. Indeed, communicate, because I've got Mercury and Mars there. And because there's a channel, I am very fixed in my communication, my broadcasting of my light. It's for the collective to see, and those who are attracted to me and my leadership will take notice, maybe be influenced or not, depending on whether or not I can influence their direction according to the fractal nature of our reality. Each of us are born along a specific trajectory and along a specific fractal line with other people who are drawn to us. So each of you who have this ability to either communicate or stabilize energy or broadcast love or direction, that's your sun. That sun is the most important aspect of your incarnation cross, period. So to be very clear, even though every other activation you have in your body graph, maybe this, that, or the other thing, might be here or there or everywhere. And that gives us a sense of what, well, I guess not everywhere. Sometimes my mind likes to rhyme, but it gives us a sense where the gate activations are, where the planets are scattered about the wheel. Actually, let me go and give you a real life illustration so it's a little bit more easy to see. Wherever that happens to be, do not get into the trap of trying to describe either to yourself or to your client, especially. You don't want to confuse them. Oh, well, this is about purpose fulfilled through that, this and that, and, you know, all this thing. Just for the sun, when we're talking about incarnation crosses, just for the sun, wherever that sun light happens to be, okay? On the conscious personality side, that's going to be on the right-hand side when you're looking at a basic body graph. For me, mine happens to be over here, 30, line 3. So for you, if you have an activation in the quarter of the wheel, purpose fulfilled through civilization, that is your conscious personality broadcasting, especially broadcasting if it's in a defined center or channel. And if it's undefined, okay, so if it's not colored in as an example, just an example now, because again, remember, we're focused on the conscious personality. If I had been born 3 months earlier, this is where my personality sun would be. And my life's work, although the incarnation cross sounds the same, still the cross of contagion, my life's work would be focused on transformation, purpose fulfilled through transformation, okay? Because this is the quarter of mutation, and that's the focus of the mind's process of its broadcasting. And here, because the genetic inherited light, my unconscious body, you can see here, it's my body, because the red is the body, because it's in an undefined center, that means my body is not for everyone. Not at all. My body is only designed to be seen and experienced by specific people. And I'm subject to, helpless to, especially as a projector, being influenced by that engagement. Whatever turns on the light of my sun, sometimes it can come out with a tremendous release. Same thing can happen if your personality sun is undefined. When the personality sun is undefined, that means it's in an undefined center. Those of you who are new, these are undefined centers, okay? As we move forward around the wheel, the quarter of duality, this is where we are now genetically engineered to bond and to mate with what is different, to further the continuation, the strength and diversity of this species. So when you look at these activations, from memory, I can remember, and please somebody correct me if I am ever wrong or I misremember, pretty clear, 59 and the 6, those are both in the quarter of duality, purpose fulfilled through bonding. And isn't that wonderful? We have the channel of mating, a design focused on reproduction. This is where we make babies. This is where we make more. So if you're, just setting the tone of this quarter, if you're born in this quarter, it's about you and the other, and your life purpose fulfillment is through the quality of your relationships. It's not about your mind. It's not about civilization. It's not about transformation. It's your relational purpose, your relationship with others. So if you're a projector, are you guiding relationships? If you're a generator, are you building relationships? If you're a manifestor, are you initiating relationships? As a reflector, reflecting the relationships. Okay, so that again, remember, we're focused on the sun, the personality core essence, what the mind will identify with, and how your life's work will show up when it is birthed from within you, when the timing is correct. Everybody has a different timing for awakening or not. Now, another channel that we have here, 6447, you can see they're right next to each other. One of the most interesting channels, configurations I find anyway, because they're right next to each other in the wheel. Remember how I said what that means when the gate activation is right next to each other? There's a real strong genetic similarity. And here's where we have activations right next to each other, and they're making a channel or a strength. And what is that strength about? It gives us abstraction because it has this preponderous, my mind is saying preponderous, this ponderosity of emotional experiences that it will slice and dice. It goes over and over all these different, like a film reel back in the day when you put those giant moving pictures up onto the machine and it flipped out those reels from one side to the other. And when it moved fast enough, you got a movie. Yeah, that's what this mind is like, except it's not in order. So it's always going back into the past, and it's always, especially, it's an emotional mind, very emotional, it's abstract. It's especially going to go into this process of confusion about what happened and coming to realizations as far as the meaning or the purpose of those bonds. Okay, so it can be a very heavy quarter, very filled with emotionality or upset, even though we only have one emotional gate here. We have a defined channel. So in order for us to fulfill our life's work, if you're born here, the quality of your relationships are key. And how do we ensure that the quality of our relationships are correct? We operate in alignment through our strategy and our authority. This is not a guarantee that you will have the fulfillment of purpose through your bonds, but it's showing your genetic predisposition, your script, if you will, the movie that you're experiencing as the starring role in your movie, the starring role in your life's work. Now, we move to the last of the quarters. Just going to scoot in just a teeny bit here. I'll still see the words on the screen there. Okay. When we move to the last of the quarters, what you're looking at here, the fourth quarter, what you're looking at is a deep, profound transformation to align us eventually to our rebirth. If you follow those gate activations, see how similar they are in nature. It is about a kind of death and rebirth. The most powerful and final transformation that we can experience as humans in this world is death. And that's what this quarter begins with. Those of you who know about Scorpio, This is my rising sign in Vedic astrology. Here, we don't use the rising sign, but here, Scorpio, to see where we begin at this quarter is the realm of Hades, archetypally. It's death. To go through a death and a rebirth, you are very different at the beginning versus the end. Would you agree? So when I see somebody who has their life's work fulfilled through transformation, I know they're going through a very life-altering shift at some point. The archetype of that being the sleeping phoenix. This is one aspect of the Incarnation cross that can create that cross of the sleeping phoenix. So when we're looking at these crosses, I want you to remember the right angles, lower trigram for the most part, are personal destiny people. There's 4 different kinds of crosses. And how do we know which one it is? We look to the gate activation, that is the personality sun, and we find where it is in the wheel. And that, my friends, is how you add on an additional piece, a core, important piece to your analysis. I speak mostly to analysts as I educate them, but if you are new to this, to your life, what your life is about. So if your life is about transformation through mutation, it's your own personal process of transformation and mutation if it's a right angle, just like with any other of these crosses, if you are a right angle. And if you're a left angle, it's about the other. It's more of a transpersonal fulfillment, karmic fulfillment. Okay, and there will only be 2 kinds of that crosses of the transpersonal, because they are named something different down the road. They get more specific, just like when we get to what's in between, right angle and the personal destiny is the right angle. Left angle, which is the transpersonal karma, what's right sandwiched in the middle, fixed fate. And there is only one of each kind of fixed fate cross because their life's work is very fixed. Now, I know for some of you who are new, this might be a little bit challenging to you to process. So we're going to go into some images that maybe will help a little bit more illustrate what I'm talking about. So we have about 20 more minutes. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to type into the chat. Now, the second piece of an incarnation cross analysis, or life's work fulfillment, is to ensure that you're on the right stage of your life. Now, is this up to you? No, not really. If you're walking in alignment with your path and you're aligned to the highest fulfillment of purpose, then what you see is exactly perfect for you to fulfill your life's work. And that seeing, that very seeing, is what is going to allow your mind to be aware of how it is here to be motivated correctly. And all of that has to be a byproduct of you operating in alignment with your form. This is gate 2. Gate 2 is the receptive, the direction of the self. It is the literal home, Taurus, of the magnetic monopole. The direction of the self is receptivity as the primal base through which any response is determined. It's the root of action. So when you are aligned to your path and purpose, whether or not you have a gate 2 defined, everyone has a gate 2, everyone has a magnetic monopole. And that monopole is pulling us like the arm of a streetcar along our path and our trajectory in space. And in order for us to be aligned to fulfill our life's work, we have to be in the right place. So an integral part of a incarnation cross analysis, we're just popping across to the other side. Here's gate 1. You can see the opposition in the wheel, is going to be always looking at the life's, or I would call it the cross of life, the life's path. Okay, I'm going to illustrate again over here. Life's path on this side. Okay, and life's purpose, or seeing of the life's purpose. Okay, path and seeing, in order for your being to emerge. So I'm going to say this again in a different way because I want to make sure that everybody's very clear. You fulfill your life's work here. Okay, this is where you physically, literally be, and how you see where you be in order for this personality to shine, and to be grounded in this life. And the way that we are here built in this 9-centered era, this form, we are Uranian creatures whose half-life happens between 38 and 44. So we don't move from the south node to the north node until we have that Uranus oppositional shift, the north node. Okay. So when you do analysis, or when you're attempting to learn more about yourself, you want to make sure you speak to the nature of this life's work in context with that, where we be and how we see, where we be, how we see, and then relative to what the strengths are that are there. So in an analysis, you'll get a review of your type, strategy, and authority for your incarnation cross. You'll get a mention, a weaving of keynotes of what the strengths are in your design, whatever they happen to be for you. But the focus is always going to be on this life's movie. Here's the movie with the characters and the cast, but here's what you are. This is your starring role. Okay, sun, earth on both sides. So the focus is always going to be in an incarnation cross reading here. It's on this. But where, relative in space, is this person going to fulfill their life's work? We go back to, what is it that the path and perspective brings to the table? We make the shift, so the entry into the body graph, it's going to be different for you. They're not always exactly like this because nodes are very slow moving. And of course, all of us have a uniqueness. It's moving across the wheel. So here's what I'm moving towards. This is where my body physically is now. And this is the way that my mind physically sees now. Now I say because I'm 40, about to turn 46. And this happened when I was 44, the shift. Okay, so the birth until the shift, the half-life of our Uranian cycle. And then this is where I'm designed to be and see relative to the movie that I'm watching. So now it's about my relationships. Not just my relationships as a basic split as far as my path and seeing, but also being able to align people to the correct work that helps them succeed and find their purpose. So that's why you hear me saying and talking about it all the time. Now, again, you're dropping this incarnation cross into that movie. So how can you interpret or explain this? If you're just learning human design, you want to find, and you're a do-it-yourselfer. You want to find Ra's work with nodes. Okay, the nodes, that's what we were looking at, the little horseshoe shapes here, the nodes. So that's one thing to be aware of when you're attempting to extrapolate meaning with your clients or for yourself about your life's work. Always enter into the life's work here, because that's what the mind will identify with. And that's where the mind is here, literally here with my mind, because it's in quarter of initiation, purpose fulfilled through mind, where the mind is going to broadcast, especially with me defined, its life's mission, if it's a 2. Yeah, purpose. Relative to the lines that are that person's personality construct, for me, it's 3. It's going to express differently So if you just read an incarnation cross, example, Labina is an innocent instrument of fate who can step in and change the fate of others through learning, experience, and discovery. The closer that person is to me on the fractal line, the more I can potentially bang into them and bring forth some heretical message that can rescue, save, fix, can lead them out of challenges in times of crisis, because the 5s are here to do that. Call them towards something different. For me, the 8 and the 14, it's in the world of work, because this is pentaland and family, penta and family, but very strong towards work as far as what this activation is talking about relative, especially I'm thinking of my crosses as far as the life cycles that I'm going through. Okay. So that is how one would start to understand or comprehend what are the components of an incarnation cross reading. So what I wanted to do was kind of give you a taste of that. And that was incarnation cross analysis, as far as how one could find different experiences of learning about your human design. So in the incarnation cross semester, we are going to ensure that you know how to describe the nodes of the moon on the personality side, most especially. But that's all going to be self-study. I'm a big fan of flip teaching. I learned how to do it at Human Design America when I first started studying this in 2013. And what flip teaching does is it allows students to study on their own time. So asynchronous learning of the lectures. And then you come to class and you participate in order to get the best out of yourself and me. We're going to engage with the material live this time around. Okay, so the materials that are in incarnation crosses are Ra Ruhu, an ability to learn and listen from Ra if you identify with his way of teaching, his style, his voice, how it can mutate you. Very, very helpful. That's why I'm a big fan of teaching in alignment with IHGS, because we have lots of materials we can listen to from Ra, from the horse's mouth, the person who created the system. So again, cross of life, you don't have to finish it before we start, but there's a lot of materials in there. Mostly you're going to use it as reference materials and study. You're welcome to bring any questions that you like to class. And again, remember, when we're looking at an incarnation cross, see the sun, the black sun activation, as what you are being in this life. Either the consistent, hi, I'm defined, so I'm consistent, or inconsistent if it's undefined, if it's in a white center, inconsistent broadcasting of your life's work. And where it's grounded in the wheel, directly opposite in the wheel, is going to be what brings the light into the world of form and what you might teach. I teach because it's part of my incarnation cross, literally, also because my unconscious designs are in undefined centers. So that's when you learn something, you can teach it and give it to others. So being for the conscious personality, your witness consciousness, when it is in black. And wherever the red happens to be is going to be the broadcasting of your genetic. So if this was red, change back to red here. The broadcasting, we'll just make it like here, of your genetic inherited light. That is going to be the unconscious core essence. And then we have another one. We have the unconscious grounding. And that's your incarnation cross. Your incarnation cross is 70% of what you're here to be. So if I go back over here, this is 70% of who I am. Now, a little key that I didn't really get clear on until I took differentiation degree program at IHGS with Andrea Reiko-Wolf. I really didn't get this. I mean, I got it from the mind, but really didn't get this, like, get it, grok it, grasp it. When you look at your personality construct, combined with your design construct, as far as the life's work, your life's role, okay, your profile, which is the costume that you're wearing, you, my friends, all of us will resonate to all 64 activations around this entire mandala wheel. All of them. All of them should be familiar to you because all of them are part of the role that you can play, because that's what you resonate to, what you may identify with, what you may akin to, relate to, vibrate to, harmonize with, if we use the word harmonize, would be the harmony. Okay, so what happens when you're not living in alignment? You play out the harmony. Me, Lavina, trying to be a 6-2, rather than being okay with making mistakes, having the courage to make the mistakes, being able to admit to the mistakes. No, I'm just above it all. Everything's fine, says the mind. All the while inside, pretending and seething, life not being in alignment. And of course, the grief that comes with that, the shame, the blame, the guilt, the fault, the regret that comes with that when not living in alignment. And so I'm going to say it again. Every single gate activation in this mandala wheel, all 64, your personality will resonate to the line value that is you. For me, it's a 3. And the body will resonate to the line value that is me. Or 5. I'm a 5. So if you're a 6-2, I'm really here for 6-2s because that's my nodal path and the way that I see things. Get a lot of 6-2s in my practice, relatively speaking, as they're rarer. If my mind tries to be what I see, or if my body tries to hide out instead of stepping up to the plate and leading as I'm designed to be, I'm not living in alignment. And it's really easy to get skewed if you try to take this material in too soon and use your mind to decide on it, especially if you are someone like me with a strategic mind's process. So if you're facing the other way, just take it in. It'll mutate you or not. It'll process. You'll get to an awareness and clarity. It takes time, this language. Ra taught you that when you begin the experiment, slowly but surely, you begin to align to the correct way of being and seeing. To my knowledge, I haven't seen people structure the combination of sun, earth with this nodes, and this is what it means as a general, like we do, like a homogenized way, like we do with incarnation crosses. Haven't seen that. This is what you'll be doing in your analysis, in your incarnation cross analysis, is dropping that personality relative into their life definition, their life's path and space, if it's red, or how they see along that path on that journey, if it's black. Is that very clear to everybody? Seeing. If you don't see properly, you cannot fulfill your purpose. So I'll tell you, one of the biggest challenges that happens is that when your view is skewed, because you're trying to avoid the path, you're railing against fate and you're trying to be somewhere other than where you already are. That's when the dissonance, that's when the challenges, the shadows arise, things rear their ugly heads, because your mind can really get upset with not liking where it is and what's actually happening. Oh, there's the life's work. Okay. Resignation is not about, fuck, it's about, oh, well, It is what it is. It is what it is. We are what we are, and we cannot change what we are, what we be, period. Accepting fate, whether or not you rail against the fate because it feels really uncomfortable to have that shitstorm happen, maybe even again, or you're like totally calm with it, totally cool with it. It's okay. Whatever emotions come up, it's all okay. No matter what happens, it's all okay. So if you imagine, I can imagine all kinds of shit that my mind would go, I don't know what happened there. I can imagine all kinds of stuff. Let's say death of my animals. I have 4. Death of my child. I have 2, actually, one genetic and one that is from a different marriage. But my husband, imagine losing him. Even though that body, this mind, will be pained at the loss and the suffering, what this design is pointed to is that you get what you get and it's all okay. And you can, what about murder, Labina? What about, rape? What about incest? All that stuff. Well, everything under the sun. This is not I'm not saying it's right or just. Who said this is a just or a right world? This world is screwed up, but it is what it is and it's all okay. Yeah. There's everything under the sun. We are not in charge of the consciousness stream, the data stream that is filtering through us. We are not. We are controlled by it, manipulated by it, homogenized by it. There's no choice about that. We cannot shield ourselves. There's no neutrino shield. So, the fullest experience and expression of one's life's work, when you have the potential to plant your incarnation cross, is later in life. Not everybody gets to that stage later in life, to the fullest experience and expression of this life's work. So then how do you come to grips with, well, what about the little babies that didn't get a chance at life? If you're not a believer in karma, it's not like you have to believe in it. But this is what this incarnation cross is speaking to. The laws of karma, reincarnation, and resurrection. It is what it is, and it's all okay. Next life, That's the wisdom potential in this design. I can remember reading all kinds of esoteric books at a very young age because my mom had them on the shelf, and frequenting the New Age bookstores, always, constantly, seeking, searching, wondering, looking. And then here's human design. Those positive or negative feelings which come with the acceptance of what is still, oh well, it is what it is and it's all okay. So one of the things that we have to come to grips with, especially as teachers, as analysts, we have to live this knowledge in order for it to breathe us into awakeness. And at the beginning, it can feel really challenging because you've been given your mind and it's not self-purpose, which of course in an incarnation cross analysis, you can review if you want to remind somebody to stay on their path, in their place where they're designed to be, making decisions correctly. And an alignment of you with you, you, personality, with you, design. That's what happens when we have the full flowering of our human potential. It begins to be a possibility around 50. 50. That's when life begins for us as 9-centered humans. End of our childhood being 30. So, if you get a very young person wanting an incarnation cross, they might not see the fullest experience and expression. Again, remember, it's not a guarantee. No one guarantees we're going to get to 50, and no one guarantees that we're going to be awake. But we can sometimes poke our head through the sky and witness and watch and wonder, and then pop back down to our normal everyday reality and live life practically speaking. So I'm going to get back to practicality, double checking the chat. All right. Yeah, we're going to wrap up here. So any comments that you have to wrap up? AJ says, thank you so much, Labina. Very good intro to IC for me. My son is 29, and you putting into the context of the quarter of duality how important relationships are for me was a great moment. It truly gave me deeper context into my knowledge. Bingo. AJ, thank you so much, because right there, you see how much time I spent over there, yeah? All I did was try to stretch out that time over there to really land that piece, that one piece. Because guess what? In the not self, the mind gets distracted. Oh, my bonds. What if you're a basic split like me? You know, what if you've got a lot of planetary activations over there? Of course, bonding is going to be important. What if you're a fourth line? Of course, bonding is going to be important, but it's not the life purpose fulfillment if your sun is over here. Yeah. So that right there, thank you for grounding that for me. That's the most important thing I wanted to get across to all of you, to introduce us to the life's work. Yes. So your mind, she's asking one question, my earth being in 30, my mind actually grounds me wherever your gate activation, that is the earth. Let's go to that image. Where did I go? Hang on. That cross that Katja had. This is, I'm just borrowing our presentation from nodes that we did before because of this right here. This is the one I wanted to end on. So this is the personality side. Just imagine everything in red for the design side. Always, wherever that earth activation happens to be, your mind or your personality construct, I should say, for in your case, my mind is up here, but for you, your mind's commitment to your response is grounding. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, I'm so glad it landed. Thank you for letting me know, Lauren. All right, so we'll begin with our incarnation crosses training. We're going to go deeper. We're going to take this another step further and give you the structures for an analysis. All right, my friends. You're very welcome. Bye for now.